What is going on, beautiful people? It's your boy Blue. Welcome back to Train Sim World 2, but this time we're rocking some freight operations from Cheyenne, whichever. Cheyenne, Wyoming to Laramie. It's gonna be pretty challenging. We're gonna have 100+ freight cars behind us, and it's gonna be very heavy. So let's get started. All right, guys, reporting for duty. This, I believe, is our SD70 Union Pacific locomotive 8602. And as you can see behind it, we have looks like 3 locomotives, and we're expecting to have about 104. Yeah, 104 freight cars that are moving behind us. That's going to equal to about 11,000, I think a little over 11,000 tons of freight cargo we're pulling up the Sherman Hill today. So let's go ahead and hop on board. We'll take the front door here in the nose. Go open that up, walk through there, open that up, walk through there, close that behind us, and close that behind us. Turn the UI back on if we good up here. Shut the back door as well, and we'll hop into the driver's seat. So because there is 104 freight cars behind us, that's a whole lot of yeah, there's a lot of braking pressure in between there, right? So it's gonna take quite a long time to release the brakes, so we want to do that first. I'm gonna go and turn on our, so we got a reverser is inserted. We'll go to our fuel pump or generator fuel. All 3 of these buttons be switched up. Our headlights be switched to bright, but in Train Sim World it's still just not bright enough. We'll turn the number board lights on. It'll be on. Onboard lights stay on. Platform step lights are on by default. And we'll go into our little PFD screen. Click on the more options, operator controls, air brake lead, and then over here to air brake cut in, and you'll see this change from lead cut out to air brake lead cut in. There it is. So lead cut in. DP is by default remotely disabled. So now that's basically saying that this cab right here is the lead locomotive. So the brakes are cut in. The brakes from this cab are being used, while the other ones are kind of like mimicking that, right? So we'll also go ahead and the red handle is the automatic brakes. So we will release that fully all the way to the left, and our independent brake fully applied, and then we can turn on our banking comm. So again, the way the brakes work, because it's going to take a while for this to release. So you can see this is our equalizing reservoir, our brake pipe. So the brakes are going to release in the front first, and because it's just basically air pressure, they're air brakes, and the air brakes are shooting through the whole length of the train. So when you release the brakes in the front, it takes a while for the very last freight car or locomotive in the back to release its brakes as well. So that's kind of a simplified way of how that works. So we're seeing here where it says brake pipe 38. That means that our brakes are releasing now in the front. So that number is going pretty fast. But the number here where it says rear and just says 1, that's actually the brake pressure in the back. And I think we want that to be, I think, around 90 or 80 or something like that. So it's gonna take a long time. It's gonna take maybe, like, realistically about 10 real life minutes, maybe even 15, possibly even 20. I would not make you guys wait all that long. Trust me, don't worry. All right, it's been about 15 real life minutes, and the brakes are finally pretty much fully released on all 104 freight cars of this train. I'm ready. The train is ready. I hope you're ready. I also got my Train Sim World Rush Hour shirt that they sent me. So big shout out to Dovetail Games for sending me the shirt. Check that out real quick. See the back. Can you see it? Yeah. Pretty dope. So ouch. So thank you, Dovetail, for that. I want to definitely show that off before we got moving. So let's go ahead and hop into the fronts here and get going. We've been sitting here long enough. So the brakes are, released enough. It says 74 in the rear. That's pretty much released. Put the reverser in first or in forward. You can hear it spooling up. You can also hear that sound pack I'm kind of rocking. Sounds pretty decent. And now we're gonna actually release the independent brake. That's for the black handle here. And actually, I'm gonna give it about 3 notches of throttle first. Matter of fact, I might go to 4. It should be good. It's not a hill start. And there we go, we're rolling. Beautiful. Yeah, you can see how slow it really gets going, you know. And that's the thing about these big freight cars like this, is that you really got to be patient with it. That's kind of the name of the game right there, is just being patient with it. Nothing happens very fast in these big long freight locomotives and trains. So we're doing good. Again, this is not a hill start. We're on a completely kind of even elevation right here. I'm actually going to escape here. We'll see what we have to look forward to in the next 6 miles. So it's going to start here. We're completely straight and level, and then we have to climb up this hill. And we'll be climbing up the hill for a long time. So that's one of the reasons why I wanted to wait until the brakes were, you know, even more released than I really needed to. I probably could have started moving at around 66 on the rear, 67. But I want to wait a little longer so that we could have a bit more power and momentum as we go into that uphill portion, because basically once we get to that uphill portion, we're gonna be freaking, I'm not gonna do it now, we're gonna be freaking throttle setting 8 for the majority of the first part of this route, and we're still gonna be probably struggling to get up to about 45 miles per hour. The full length of this route, I think, is 58 miles. You can see right there our markers at 35. That's at that first stop, I think, at the Hermosa tunnel, a very popular and famous tunnel out here for this route. But that's actually just a go via location. We're not even stopping there. We gotta continue another, what's that, maybe 20 miles after that. So that's a pretty long route. Again, I mentioned it's take about 2 hours to do the full thing. Again, I'll be stopping in and coming out, going, you know, kind of giving you guys updates here and there. But it's interesting. I'm glad we finally got longer freight cars or freight trains into the game, because as you know, a person from the United States, I'm used to seeing these types of trains. This is what I'm used to seeing. I'm used to seeing these long mixed freight trains that just go on for miles, and this train I think is like 1.3 miles long. And actually, so we need to bring that throttle back because we just lost some it didn't like that. Oh no, you heard that throttle cut back for a second. I'm gonna try to give it throttle 8 if it'll let me. Again, I want to have as much momentum as I can. We're already at a 0.8% gradient at 25 miles per hour, so that's going against us now. With a speed limit of 40 miles per hour coming up, but it's not going to be a pretty big deal. We're going to be lucky if we get that fast on the way out of Cheyenne. I think I'm saying that right, Cheyenne? Yeah, we'll go with that. But yeah, we're using the, I think it's called the Sherman Hill Texture Enhancement Pack, and it's done quite a lot of things. I'll kind of list some of those off for you. So let me see, where's it at? So they changed the license plate on all the static cars and vehicles, so trucks, things like that, to be actual US license plates and not, you know, UK inspired looking. I don't know what they were thinking when they gave the cars UK looking license plates, but yeah, so they changed that. They also removed the European style markings from certain vehicles. So there's a lot of European aspects. I mean, obviously Dovetail and the team over there that work on Train Sim World 2, they're over there in Europe, and that's what they know, right? They don't, unless you come here and make assets specifically based off of US stuff, you're gonna be using what they already have and they've used for other routes. So oh, here comes another train. On our left, looks like an ethanol train. That one has 4 freight trains or freight locomotives in the front. Yeah, I believe I was kind of trying to find out what is the heaviest train you can pull, and it seems like this one, the chemical ethanol train, is just slightly the heaviest, longest train you can actually pull in the default timetable and scenarios. So I almost did that one for this video, but I thought that the one with the mixed one was a bit more interesting just to look at for me personally. And ours is probably only a few 100 pounds lighter than that. So either way, it's pretty darn heavy and it's going to be hard. It's going to be challenging. It sounds simple, sounds easy to just, have the throttle set to full power and just go, but having a train be this freaking long actually makes it very challenging going up and down hills, especially when we get kind of more towards the middle section of this route where the hills go up and they go down. We're gonna be constantly fighting, trying to, you know, use throttle versus use the dynamic braking to get it slowed down, to not have a runaway train. Also, there's some sections that are kind of get S-turns, stuff like that, so it definitely gets challenging, and I have failed to drive this route many times, so hopefully it doesn't get too bad. Yeah, as you see, we have a lot of straight track. We're at a 1.0% gradient now, and we're throttle full. We're going as fast as we can right now, and because we're so heavy, we just can't get any faster. The speed limit is all the way up at 55 miles per hour, so if we were lighter or not pulling anything, we could go as fast as we want, but because we're so heavy, we're just kind of crawling around here through Wyoming. So, but it's all good. That's kind of how it is. Like I said, you gotta be patient. It's a 2-hour long drive. There's not a whole lot to see on the route. Like, what you see right now is basically what we'll see for the rest of the route. So when, you know, if you see me make a cut in a video, don't feel like you missed anything, because most likely you didn't, or maybe I missed something. But yeah, basically it's kind of like, you know, it's the visual, the distance goes super far out, but there's just really not much to see, and that's just kind of how it is even in real life. I don't know if it's the same color in real life. I'm not sure how close this would be to that, but as far as how the region is, it's just kind of flat. You may see some farms in the distance, maybe some cows, stuff like that, but it's just kind of grassland. That's pretty much it. We won't really see a whole lot of mountains until we get farther into the route, but yeah, it is what it is. Alright, as you can see, we're just passing the like oil refinery kind of thing, kind of chemical plant here. It looks kind of generic, but they've placed the objects kind of how it is on the map. I'm actually looking at Google Maps too and comparing it, and it's pretty, you know, I mean, obviously the tracks are laid out correctly, but as far as what exact buildings are there, it's kind of hard probably even get that get those reference photos, but it looks pretty good. I mean, it looks all right. But this is basically where all the ethanol tankers and chemical tankers kind of originate. I think there is a scenario that you can do some chemical switching over here. I think it's over here, I'm not sure. There's a couple trains there to use for switching ops. See, our train has a mix of almost everything. Got some cement cars, got some box cars, got some chemical freight cars there. We're still creeping along, but it's pretty cool, I gotta say, having these long trains stretching over a mile long. Can't even see the end of it. And I think we have 3 locomotives in the front, and I have to go and see how many we have in the back. Let's see how many we have in the back. See what the end of this baby looks like. I think we're almost there. Yep, there it is. We just have 1. Yeah, so this set of freight trains is doing pretty good. Those are some refrigerated ones right there. Yeah, so we have a total of 4 freight locomotives pushing this train, or pulling this train. And I'm actually surprised they didn't use the 4 set in the front and then maybe like a 2 set in the back, but I guess it's enough. So hopefully that's enough horsepower to get us over this long drawn out hill and all the way over to Laramie. Jumping to the back of the train, you can see we're just passing one of those intermodal trains right now, and you're noticing there's a few pink containers, but they don't say one on them. They've actually been replaced with the K line, the red and white containers there. There's also going to be a green one, with a different logo on it. But yeah, I think it looks much better, much more authentic to the area. Alright guys, we are actually approaching the Granite Quarry. It's actually coming up on our right side now, and you can see, if you're wondering, hey, he seems like he's going pretty slow. That's because I am. We're going 15 miles per hour, and it's been like this for quite a while. And it's actually finally starting to level off as far as our gradient here. But yeah, the quarry's up there on the right side. It's actually going to jump to what, 3 or 4 track in this area. If we look at the map, you'll see it actually breaks off to the right, and it does this little loop over here where they would pick up, you know, all the materials you need and then head back out. But we could actually fly over there with our camera too to get a closer look at what that looks like, because that's really where you get all the granite containers and stuff like that from. But the good thing about this little area, as we hit escape just for a second, you see just for a little bit we were flat, and now we go right back into to climbing again. We've been full throttle this whole time. We're about, I would say, about an hour into this drive now. We're about halfway to the first waypoint, which is still not the whole way. So we have a long way to go, about an hour into this now, and you know, we're just kind of getting to here. So eventually we'll get to a point where we'll get to the Sherman Hill peak, and we'll start driving back downhill, and that doesn't mean it's going to get easier. It's actually going to be probably harder. I think going uphill is easier. As long as you keep the momentum going, you should be perfectly fine. You don't want to slow down for any reason. You don't want to pull throttle back for any reason. Don't want to spin the wheels for any reason going uphill, or you'll lose that momentum and you'll be going slower. So again, this is the fastest I've been able to get us to go. We were at 30 or so, and then as soon as we hit that 1.5% gradient, fastest we've been able to go about 13, now 17 miles per hour. So let's hop into the free cam. I'm gonna fly over here to the Granite Quarry, and first thing I have to say is I think, to be like, this here is bad. It's really bad. I actually remember the first time I ever loaded into this route add-on, and I saw it loaded me into a train right here. I was sitting right here, and I had a bunch of freight cars of granite behind me, and I was like, what the heck is going on? Did my scenery not finish loading? Well, no, it didn't. This is how it looks. I mean, I don't know. It's got to be a better way that they could texture this area. It just looks bad. It just looks rushed, you know. And there are missions that take you to and from this location, so it's not like this place is not used, or it's not like it's not meant for us to be here. Here's that cat logo I was talking about earlier that comes with the mod. So but yeah, it's a pretty cool piece of track. Over here, this rock looks great. Like, why can't all of it look like this right here? If all of this whole area looked just like this, then this would be a really cool area to be in. I would love to honestly drive in and out of this area a lot more often. There's nothing here right now. I guess you'd have to probably load up one of the specific timetable or scenarios to actually get all of the freight cars over here that are usually here. But this is a granite area. And then I think over there, we probably can't fly that far yet. But the actual quarry, I think, is just to the south of here. And this is just a little some water and whatnot. But yeah, this is the granite area. Yeah, just want to kind of show what that looks like. The whole route doesn't look like this, but my first impression of it initially, I thought it was going to. I was like, oh man, this looks bad. So yeah, I don't know why they didn't put a little bit more time and effort into this area, but I feel like this could be a really cool looking area. You know, just kind of very unique. But you know, I think it might have to. It's gonna have to be an additional texture enhancement pack or something like that to really make this look much better. But it looks really bad right now. But we can fly back over to our train. As you can see, it's still going by. We have a long train. And I'm actually very thankful that we're finally up to 18 miles per hour. This is the fastest I've gone in about 30-45 minutes. So definitely did not know what I was getting myself into when I chose to pull such a heavy and long train. It's gonna be pretty difficult, to be honest with you, when we get to the peak of Sherman Hill, and we're not too far from it. It's not 16 miles away. The peak is much earlier than that. If we go to escape again, you'll see we'll still be climbing for the next 6 miles or so, but yeah, it's not 18 miles out. Alright guys, we finally made it. As you can see from this map right here, we just reached the summit of Sherman Hill, which is pretty freaking dope. You can see it behind us as we're now crawling over the top. Let me use the free camera here. See, I believe the summit, the Sherman Hill summit, is somewhere over here. I think it's like right around this road. There's no sign that I've been able to see or detect to show, hey, you are at the summit, but it's right around here, around this area. So man, it took us about, I don't know, an hour and a half maybe, just to get to this point. And man, we have been just crawling along 15 miles an hour for the majority of this drive. Not because the speed limit is that low, but because we're just so heavy. That's as fast as we can go. Take a look at a full map here. Kind of this around here is where the summit is. So you can see we started way over here, and this whole way, this is where the Granite Quarry is right there. And then once you get around to this point, that's when you finally get to the top of the hill. And then from here, it's going to start kind of going downhill, but we're actually not going to go straight down. It's not going to be a straight down grade. It's going to kind of go up and down a few times. But there is something we need to be concerned about, and that is, when do we start braking? So let's go back to our to the cab here. Now we're up front, and so the way this works is the physics are going to be kind of going against us. Now we're going on a 0.8% negative gradient. We're going downhill. We don't want to bring that throttle back and bring it out. Speed limit is 40 miles per hour. And if we look here, we'll see we're going to be going downhill. We're going to kind of have a flat part and then go back uphill. So for a decent amount of time, we'll be going downhill, but that weight behind us, you know, the 104, 103 freight cars we have behind us, 11,000 pounds, will be pushing us down this hill. And so you really want to kind of bring the throttle to idle and then use our dynamic brake here, which is going to be this one, and bring it on setup, and then get ready to put that in probably like maybe setting 4 or 5. And what that's going to do is it's going to use the engine power to basically, instead of drive us forward, use it as a way of like using the brake. So I kind of want to, like, I don't want to get any faster than 40 miles per hour. Oh, another train. Nice. I think that's that one's probably going to the Granite Quarry, most likely. Those are the type of freight cars you see at the Granite Quarry. But yeah, so I don't want to go too much faster than 40 miles per hour, so I'm going to continue to apply dynamic braking just to kind of keep it controlled. What I don't want to happen is to go into a uncontrolled runaway train situation, like what kind of happened to me in Clinchfield not long ago. If you guys saw that video, we had an issue where we went downhill and we couldn't stop the train. We were sliding down. It was crazy. It was ridiculous. So I don't want it to happen again. But you kind of want to get ahead of this kind of thing. I probably did it a little too late, because as the train is going over the hill, you know, when the first part of the locomotive is going over, you still have that weight pulling you back down the downside of the hill, right? But as, you know, kind of like more and more freight cars get over the hill, then you have more and more weight pushing you down. So right now we're basically going to be, we're maxed out on our dynamic brake. So I think I went in a little too late, so we can see we're going a little fast. We are going to level off. So I don't want to stop all the way. I want to actually keep my momentum, so that when we get to that part at the bottom of this hill, I need to go back up. I want to have my momentum still up. So right now we're a little faster than I like to be. It's going to start telling us that we're going over speed limit. But this hill is not that long. And this is a X. This section of the track is kind of tricky because it's going to be going up and down, so it's really important to stay ahead of the train. And we kind of didn't do that already. We're coming up to a crossing right now. It definitely feels nice to be going faster, but at the same time, I want to be in control. We're really not. I wouldn't really consider us being in control at this moment. We're going 48 miles per hour, not because I want to, but because we're so heavy that we're just being pushed down this hill. So what's going to save us here is honestly going to be that short portion that we're coming up on. That's going to be that flat part. Where we can bring the power back, or we're not really bringing the power back, we're just leaving the dynamic brake in for a bit and then kind of lose some of that momentum as we go up the hill again. So this is a really cool section too. This is part of the route that I feel is the more scenic, more picturesque, more interesting part of the route. This looks really nice. Look at that rock formation there. I personally wish the whole route looked like this, but I understand that this is a unique part of the route, so it's not all gonna look like that. But through here you can see you got some mountains, or some kind of like some interesting rock formations, kind of rock sprinkled here and there. There's a canyon way out there on our left, because most of this route is more hills. It's not really, I wouldn't really consider it being mountains. It's more of just hills that we're driving through. So I get why you don't see like that rugged, rocky look everywhere, because a lot of it's just grassland and stuff like that. How are we doing on speed? Yeah, look at that, 51 miles per hour. We're now on that flat portion, so hopefully while we're here we can get slowed down, and we're about to go uphill again, so that's gonna actually help us slow down. So we're gonna stay in the dynamic brake to keep us slowing down. We'll be going uphill only for a couple kilometers and then be going back downhill. So what happens through this section here is kind of through these S turns, you're kind of going up and down, and then at some point you're gonna just go down until the end of the route. I think that might be after this hill, I don't remember. But I think after this hill, it's going to be basically going downhill the rest of the way. So it's going to be super important, like I said, to stay ahead of the train, stay in the brakes, and make sure we don't lose control of this locomotive, because it could definitely happen. As you can see, we're already losing the battle against the freight car. So it's really important, honestly, for us to get that speed down before we get to the peak of this next hill. Because if not, then all hope is probably going to be lost. We might not even be able to stop it when we get to where we're going. We still got a ways to go. We're 3 miles away from the first waypoint, but even after that, I think we still have another maybe 10 miles or so till we get to Laramie. So here comes a signal here. We're still going uphill. There's a little office area on the right. And if we go look at these, you can see this truck is a European truck, right? Like, this should not be on the Sherman Hill. They should replace this with a US cement mixer. But you can see that here it does show an American and authentic Wyoming plate, which is pretty cool. And over here again, another European trucks. And US, we don't have these red stripes on our trucks. That's not a thing. That one, yeah, this one also has Grand Canyon State. So cool. That's one of the things that the mod does, which is pretty nice. And this truck over here is also going to have, it's kind of blurry, but yeah, most of the license plates have been changed out. But let's hop back into the cab and see how we're doing. Yeah, speed's looking much better, maybe 2 better. Let's go ahead and bring that dynamic brake out. We're 24 miles an hour. Like I said, we want to keep the speed going. I don't want to lose all the momentum. We still have to get up this hill that we're going through right now. That's very important. So now that the dynamic brake is cut off, we'll go back into the throttle, and we'll go into like 6 to begin with to get it going. And yeah, we just kind of killed it. Yeah, we shouldn't do that too fast. You want to give it some time between the dynamic brake and the regular throttle. But we don't want to get too slow because we get stuck on this hill. We've been doing 0.8% to 1.5% gradients this whole route, and we know that we are going to struggle to get up it. And now we're back to the speed that we were doing the whole freaking route, and that's all my fault. I could have done that much better. I think we're coming up now to the famous Hermosa tunnel. All right, we got power going in. Looking much better. And this is not, we're almost at the top. Honestly, I think this tunnel is the top of this little hill. So once we get over the hill, we're gonna have to get back in the brakes again. So it's not bad that we're going slow, but you know, for time's sake, you want to at least keep the train moving. You want to keep that, you want to have momentum management a lot with these big freight trains, or yeah, momentum and power management. So I can go all the way throttle 8 and it's gonna drag us up here. Let's go watch this go through the tunnel. The famous Hermosa tunnel. And as we come out of the tunnel, I love this part of the route. This is the last section here, the last kind of I don't say call it the last stretch, but it's like this the last quarter of the route that we're running now. And this is honestly, in my opinion, the most beautiful part of it. It looks the best, much better than that other part we ran earlier. But as you can see, that our elevation is now changing it. We're now going downhill, and it shows downhill for basically forever. So what we want to do now is do this early, because we are very heavy. As we're coming over the top of this hill, I'm gonna go throttle to idle and pull all the power out of the engine, and we're just gonna let it coast for a little bit. Let the traction power come down. We should have green lights all ahead, so we should not have to worry about stopping. Sometimes where our go via location is, I believe there is a signal that will sometimes tell us to stop. So now that the power is down, we'll go into dynamic brake setup using my keyboard, which is, you could also do manually here. And we're gonna put that into like 4. And I want to do it early because you want to kind of start getting that. You want to get slowed down or get the motors going to slow you down before you actually even need it. Because once you need it, it's most likely going to be too late, I've learned. And the speed limit going down this hill looks like it's about 40. You can hear the engine revving up as we're giving it more and more dynamic brake. If you're familiar with like trucking, dynamic braking is similar to like J braking or engine braking, stuff like that. And yeah, our speed is going up, going up, going up. Now here's the thing: if the dynamic brake is the dynamic brake should be strong enough to hold us if we did it early enough. Worst case scenario, we will have to use the automatic brake to slow us down. It just takes a while for that to apply, and you can't have the dynamic brake and the automatic brake running at the same time. Once you turn the automatic brake on, it turns off the dynamic brake, and yeah, it's pretty tricky. So you can see we are still gaining speed even with the dynamic brake on max, and we're not getting all the power we want out of it. And as more and more of our freight cars behind us get over that hill behind us, it is going to be harder and harder for the train to maintain the slower speed. And we got to kind of watch it, because if we get to a point where we feel like, hey, we're not going to be able to keep it slow like this, we might have to go ahead and switch to the automatic brake, because it's going to be a transition period between dynamic brake and automatic brake as well. And I don't know, I'm not confident right now that we're in a good space, because we're still gaining speed slowly, and I'm fully applied on the dynamic brake as much as I possibly can. And I think it's going to be 0.8% down this hill all the way. It might be even to 1.5% gradients on the way down too. And we're at 39 miles per hour. I don't know what you guys think. Should we switch over to automatic and get some brakes down the whole line of the train? I think we need to. I think we need to. Yeah, we need to. So I'm adding the automatic brake now. I want to give about 50% to start. It's most likely not going to stop us. Alright, cool. So the brakes are actually applying, and it's working. Our speed's coming back. The 50 might be a little too much because I don't want to stop. And you can see our KLB it went down when I applied the automatic brake, because again, you can't have them both going at the same time. So I'm going to pull the automatic brake back to like 25. I don't want to stop. That's not what I want to do. What we could do as well is we could use the automatic brake to get us slow to a slower speed, and then switch back to the dynamic brake, and it might actually work for us. Because once you get fast to a certain speed, the dynamic brake at a certain weight becomes basically useless. I'm actually going to go to minimum application on automatic brake. And we want to be careful too going downhill because it takes a while for the brakes to apply and release. So we can't just keep applying brake and unapplying brake and applying brake, because every time we reapply the brake after releasing it, we actually get less pressure or less braking power than we got the first time. So I got to be really careful with that. Coming through another really cool canyon section area, or 21 miles per hour. I'm actually not upset about that because I want to use a dynamic brake, and I think at 20 miles per hour we might be able to do so, but I'm gonna have to release the automatic brake to do it. So we're below 20 miles per hour. That's half of our speed limit. I'm gonna bring automatic brake down to release, independent bell off, and let's see if we can do dynamic braking. See if it'll let me do that. I'm gonna go to dynamic brake off, dynamic brake back on. Hopefully it'll allow me to do it, because even if I release the automatic brake, which I did, it's still going to take a while to release it throughout the whole train. So we still have some brakes holding us here. I'm just trying to get the dynamic brake kicked on, and there it is. Here's the dynamic brake kicking in. And if I can get the dynamic brake applied like fully at a low speed, we may be able to run the dynamic brake all the way down this hill. Look at that. Look how much more power we're getting from the dynamic brake now that we're at 15 miles per hour. We got 107. We were getting 55 before, which was not enough to hold us. That's what I'm talking about right there. That's why if you stay ahead of it, if you kind of get there before you get to those higher speeds, you'll be okay. And it's okay. I'm not saying I want to do 15 miles per hour all the way down this hill because we've done 15 the whole route, but it's much easier to use the dynamic brake than it is to use the automatic brake to maintain your speed downhill. So I'm gonna play around with this as we're going down the hill, and hopefully we'll be all right. All right, guys, we are just going on 2 miles now, coming up to the end of our route. We got a yellow light up ahead, and my dynamic brake set to 8 as we kind of merge back in with the other parallel track. This is actually the faster one. I think it's less of a gradient, and you get to go a bit faster. But we took the right side, so it's a bit slower, but it's okay. So we have a red signal about 2.1 miles, which is right after our stop point. And what I believe is going to happen, it says 55 miles per hour coming up in 400 yards, but most likely what usually happens when we roll into this yard is it's going to have us switch tracks, and because we're switching tracks, that speed is going to drop way down. I'm not sure what speed limit that's going to be at. I'm not sure what that's going to be at, but it's going to be much slower than 55 miles per hour. So we're going to stay in the brakes here. I'm going to kind of give it a little bit more. We see it's actually leveling off now. Again, if we see here, we're kind of merging in with all this coming into Laramie Yard, which is pretty dope. And we'll see what the actual speed limit we get here in a second. But yeah, so we basically, my goal was kind of to keep around 25 miles per hour going down the hill. We didn't go the speed limit. I'm kind of learning now that even though the speed limit may say 40, make sure we don't have to switch any tracks. It should be all automatic. Yeah, all right, cool. It's gonna be the far right tracks. We're good to go. We're not gonna switch track and stay on this one. That's good. That's what I like to see. But yeah, so even though the speed limit was 40 miles per hour going down, I'm just gonna turn off the dynamic brake completely. Oops, not like that. But even though the speed limit was 40 miles per hour, you don't necessarily have to do that. It really depends on where you feel, I guess, secure, you know, where you feel safe at. And I felt safe around 25, max 28, because when I got around 28 miles per hour, I was barely being held at that speed limit at max dynamic braking 8, which is a max brake. And so if I had gone any higher than that, I had the risk of a runaway train again. So, but it was pretty good. We did a pretty good job. I used a dynamic brake. I was kind of going between setting 6 in the dynamic brake and 8, and that was keeping me right at around 25 miles per hour all the way down the hill. So this portion was definitely much faster than going up the hill. Would I say easier? Not so much. If you know, you kind of have to pay attention. If you don't pay attention, you can very easily kind of get over that the braking curve where you can't get the train to actually slow down and keep it under control. So I'm actually really proud of myself. We haven't stopped the train yet. We still got to do that. That's gonna be the next difficult part, is actually getting the train to a complete stop without running this red light and losing the whole freaking scenario. Rolling into Laramie now. And everybody's in one piece so far. I don't know if the mod has changed anything here in this city. I know it did change the billboards, but I don't know if there's anything else changed. Maybe they changed the building colors, possibly, but I haven't been looking at them that close to even tell the difference. So yeah, we need to definitely want to stay in that brake. We're a mile out, so I'm gonna bring the dynamic brakes back in, because I don't want to get too fast. We're gonna have to come to a complete stop in less than a mile. And if we miss our stop point, we are gonna roll through the red light. So we want to approach it pretty slowly. So it looks far, but it's, you know, it's not. When you're this heavy, it's not. Again, nothing happens fast. So it's not like we can just wait till the last minute, like in a German train or a high-speed train or Amtrak, something like that. You got to brake way ahead of time. You got to kind of think ahead of the train, what it's going to do. So for me, I'm going to try to go dynamic brake 8. That should get us slowed down enough. We're only on the 0.2% gradient going down, but the majority of this rail here that our freight cars are on right now is on kind of a level playing field. The back might be long enough and far enough back that it might still be on that steeper gradient though. So again, we gotta watch out for that, but I think we will be all right. Pretty empty here in Laramie. I think most of the freight cars that are on the route have driven by us. We saw about 6 or 8 freight trains drive by us, which was pretty nice. It was I definitely like that, like versus like the Cane Creek where it's kind of like a single track going most of the way. You don't see as much traffic. I like seeing more traffic. And it's really cool. This is the longest train I have ever personally driven in Train Sim World. Now, Train Simulator has longer trains in it, I think. This is like 104, I believe, we're pulling right now. And then 11,000 pounds again. So this is probably the longest, heaviest train I've driven on this route specifically. And I'm actually, again, if anything else goes wrong, I am proud of how I have done so far, because I have failed to get up that hill multiple times personally in just other drives that I've done before this video. Alright, as we're getting very close, I'm going to go ahead and start bringing in our automatic brake, which is going to override our dynamic brake. We're going to do minimum application, and that should start getting us slowed down. We're just over 100 yards away. And we'll bring it even more, because again, the automatic brake takes a little bit more time to apply. We're gonna give it a lot. We're gonna give it a lot actually, even though 10 miles per hour may not seem very fast. Worst case scenario, well, not worst case scenario, but you know what could happen is we stop too early, and then we could just kind of let it roll down because it is a bit downhill. So let's see how we do. 5 miles per hour, 30 yards, and we are definitely gonna stop a little too early. I will release the brake, and hopefully we can let it roll down. Or we can just give it some throttle. A lot of throttle. And we'll bring the brakes back in. Not too much, not too much. I just want to get it rolling. Alright, almost there. I'm really interested to know how long this took me to do. Alright, there it is. Idle and fully apply an independent brake. 100% full application and minimum automatic brake. That should stop us. Uh-oh, it's not stopping us. It's not stopping us. Why are we not stopping all the way? Oh, man. Alright guys, we made, let me not speak too soon. We're 39 yards away from that red signal. Please stop. Please stop. Come on. Come on. There it is. There it is. Alright, wow. That's what I kind of thought. 3, that hurts just to see. It took me 3 real life hours to do that mission. Distance driven 57.49 miles. I walked 174 yards, and I didn't even get a freaking medal for that. That's ridiculous, man. Oh well. Yeah, 3 hours of my life is gone. But thank you guys so much for watching. Remember, you have 3 choices: give up, give in, give it all you got. Peace, love, and God bless you. I'll see you guys next time, next video. Let me know what you think about Sherman Hill. Peace.